why Ghana, why Africa?
Yes, thank you. So my reason for choosing, so this is also my first time to Africa. The other thing that I should add to that is that I have been to every continent with the exception of Antarctica, and Africa was the last one. I have wanted to see the door of no return since I was about 12 years old.
So you were familiar with the door of no return?
Yes. So as a child, I was in a summer, it's like a summer camp group where we traced our roots and our ancestry and just understanding the U.S. Black experience, the slave trade, our history from an American perspective or African American perspective, as deep as we could go. We did that, and we would periodically in the summertime we would go back and do different projects to expound on what we had done. Yeah, and so that was something that I learned about, and I said one day I want to go see the door of no return. I actually want to go and walk through that door.
Hey everybody, I'm still here in Accra, Ghana, and I'm talking to Nashiki Chandler, and she is a lifestyle, health, and wellness coach, and we're going to talk about quite a few things right now because you're getting ready to head back to the States. You are from the ATL.
Yes.
Is it still Hot Atlanta or is it ATL or what is it now?
People from Atlanta don't say Hot Atlanta.
No, what do they call it?
ATL is good.
So ATL, so that basically represents the airport.
No. Metro. The whole metro area.
So it's kind of like DMV is for DC area.
Yes.
But ATL is like for all of Atlanta.
Metro Atlanta.
Okay, yes. So like, what is it called? The perimeter? See, I'm messing everything up now. Is it still called Atlanta?
It's still called Atlanta.
So ATL just represents that whole region.
Yes.
Is that where you were born and raised and everything?
Yes.
So you are a local Atlantan.
Yes, I was born in the city of Atlanta.
All right, Fulton County.
Fulton County, Grady Bay.
You born at Grady Memorial Hospital.
Yeah.
What is it? What street is that on? I spent some time at Grady Hospital. I won't share that story right now, but I've been at Grady before.
I'm sure that's an interesting story.
It's such a story. Well, anyway, Nishiki's going to tell us a few reasons why she decided to join us here in Africa, and then she has a very powerful story she's going to share. But so before we get to that, why Ghana, why Africa?
Yes, thank you. So my reason for choosing, so this is also my first time to Africa. The other thing that I should add to that is that I have been to every continent with the exception of Antarctica, and Africa was the last one. I have wanted to see the door of no return since I was about 12 years old.
So you were familiar with the door of no return?
Yes. So as a child, I was in a summer, it's like a summer camp group where we traced our roots and our ancestry and just understanding the U.S. Black experience, the slave trade, our history from an American perspective or African American perspective, as deep as we could go. We did that, and we would periodically in the summertime we would go back and do different projects to expound on what we had done. Yeah, and so that was something that I learned about, and I said one day I want to go see the door of no return. I actually want to go and walk through that door. And so that was my motivation.
So for coming here, so when you got to the door of no return, what was that like?
It was very eye-opening.
Because you went to two doors.
I went to the door of no return and then the gate of no return. Right. It felt like, you know how you've wanted to do something for so long and then it finally happened?
Yes.
So it was like another one of those, I finally did it, I got it, I accomplished it. So that was one feeling. To actually return to a place where it was never meant for us to return.
That's right, we were never supposed to return.
Yeah. And then the other thing was to be able to hear the stories of what happened on this side, the fact that only 1/3 of the people that were stolen actually made it onto the ship.
I like how you accurately describe that. 1/3 of the people who were stolen.
Yes.
They didn't migrate. They weren't on a vacation.
Yes.
They weren't indentured, as
Right.
these stories tell us. So I'm
Right.
glad you put it in perspective.
Yes. So to hear that there's devastation, there's trauma, there is a need for healing on this side as well. And so to be able to connect those dots and to see that we're not as disconnected as we think we are.
Break that down for me a little bit.
Because I feel like, personally,
Okay.
I feel like slave descendants, like to a certain degree, we may have a little bit of DNA PTSD.
Okay. So we still deal with the effects of the traumas that occurred genetically.
Genetically, spiritually, and genetically.
Yes.
Psychologically, all of that. So I think that there's a lot of that here on the ground as well.
You can see it.
Yeah, you can see it. The way that the guides told the story, it was very sincere, it was very genuine, and it was very intentional to show, no, there's a lot of trauma here as well. And so that's why I said that we share in that need for healing, right? So now we understand that the injustice has been done. We understand the depth and the magnitude and the impact on both sides. One of the things that was said by one of the tour guides is he said we have never recovered because not only were our natural resources
right,
taken, but some of our strongest and smartest people were also taken.
So you take the resources, you take the people to use that to go build your wealth.
Correct. Yes.
And then you don't replenish it. Obviously, you can't. There's certain things you're not going to replenish without an intentional effort. And of course, the thief is not going to come back and bring back the stolen goods, especially if you're still profiting off. I got it.
Yes.
And so they recognize that also.
They definitely recognize. The tour guides recognize it. I don't know how much, I interacted with some of the locals since I've been here. It's very clear that they seem to recognize it, but I don't know from a larger perspective.
From a cultural perspective.
Yeah, from a cultural perspective.
Broader cultural perspective.
If they understand it. Yeah.
So what do we need to do?
Which is the same on the other side.
It's the same on the other side. Yeah. I think that's one of the similarities that I noticed too, because the way we've been trained is like we're superior in a sense. We have all of these different things, but then when you come in, you're like, wait a minute, we're really fighting the same battle on so many levels. So what do you think we need to do in order to fix that?
I think that a huge part of the damage that was done was mentally, psychologically, right? Playing mind games with people to have them believe that they are inferior or that they are lazy or that they are not good enough or that they are not smart enough. There were a few stories told of how, people were tricked to just believe things that just don't
Just
make
weren't
sense.
even the gun story.
Yeah, the gun story.
Right.
So I think that's if some of that damage could be undone on both sides.
On both sides.
That would be the best start for us to really learn how to love ourselves.
Would you say it's still happening though?
Oh yes.
The trickery, you see what I'm saying?
Yes. So I saw something yesterday when I went to dance. The person, the dance instructor, he wanted someone to record us. We were on the rooftop, and so he called one of the people that worked there, and he had to ask the question, have you ever worked the iPhone before? And he had to ask 3 different people before he got to someone
who worked an iPhone,
who had even worked an iPhone, and these were adults that seem to be older than me. And what he said is that the illiteracy rate is really, really high.
And that's intentional.
Just
like it's intentional in America.
Correct.
It was intended for the enslaved to never read, write, laws created. Interesting.
But they have jobs. They work at the restaurant.
Of course.
They help maintain the grounds. They help cook the food. They
Build
help,
the wealth.
Yes, but
For others.
yes,
Yeah.
but whether or not they can read, write, or even be comfortable with basic technology in 2021, there's a gap.
So that's something that we need to be intentional about. And I would think on both sides to some extent. Educating from the technical standpoint.
Yeah, educating as well. But I think that kind of self-love.
So even before you get to that,
Even before you get to the
have
education,
to believe
just
identity.
Yes,
And appreciate the identity.
Yes.
Where do you think we, as a culture, and it could be on both sides, because I'm seeing cultural things on both sides that are very similar. Where do you think we need to begin the process of embracing and loving ourselves from an identity standpoint?
I have to say in the homes, start with the children, with the adults decide, I'm good enough, right? I am good enough and I can have a better life, and start to challenge some of those unsupportive, unproductive belief systems that we have, right? So first they got to recognize it. That's one thing.
So first step, recognizing
it
within
yourself, right? Within yourself, and then gradually choosing to do something different. Yeah, and then choosing to do something different in the raising of the children, the rearing of the children, and exposing them to what they think is what's possible for them. I think that's the start.
So starting there, how do we? Because there's some cultures where that's not even prioritized. Some aspects of our culture where our identity has been so diluted, polluted, where we aspire to be everything except who we are. So in other words, we see the greatness. When you come to places like Ghana and different parts of Africa, you see the power and the resourcefulness of the people. But the way we've been trained is that we're deficient, and even how they've been trained here. Deficient, not up to par. So, again, I guess to your point, when you said that it has to begin with the individual, and then training the children, that process is a very involved process, because when I try to, and you might understand this from your profession, when you try to change habits, it really begins with mindsets. First, you got to first get the mind, and then the behaviors come next. So how do we reach those people to say, you're okay with being who you are? Let's be proud of who we are. This is our culture. This is who. There's nothing. We built everything. So what? How do we make that connection?
I think it starts with, like everything in our culture, we have to make it cool again, right? Okay. That's how it becomes a part. So let's look at the impact the church has had on people, right?
Let's talk about
so there's a culture that this is the thing to do, it's the right thing to do for everybody with no exceptions. As people of color, that's what we're taught.
That's a culture, that's right, from childhood,
Right, and so how do we get people with influence, which that's what pastors are.
Yes, they are. and they have influence, and they tell people and
in the name of whoever they want to say.
Themselves.
Right. And then we have, the celebrities.
Yes.
Because people think that whatever Beyonce and Jay-Z says is law, right?
Yeah, they do.
And I think they're doing some great things, right?
Yeah,
I do think they're doing some great things. So I think... and
don't forget the politicians.
And the politicians. And so I think that there has to be continual and consistent campaigns of making it cool and okay and celebrating it. And I think some of that has started.
It has started, yeah.
And I think that is how, some of the ground gets broken. For people to, growing up in the U.S., as children, we were not necessarily taught to celebrate Africa or being African.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very few, a portion of the population, but the large majority was,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now when I look at my nieces and my nephews, right? So they listen to African music. They've seen Beyonce's video where, she's showing Africa. Yeah. Right. So they have a very different narrative than we had. We had, roots, and then
somebody in the jungle.
Correct.
And flies
Yes.
and distended
Babies
stomachs.
with big
Yes.
bellies and flies and hungry. So I think that it started. It just needs to turn up a little bit more. You know, I think somehow, we all should turn up the volume. And I think the other side to that is in the communities, like, for example, you started your journey. You're sharing your story. You're sharing other people's story and stories, and you're making it a thing that people, whether they choose to come or not, are going to be interested in, just to see how it goes. Yeah, just to see how it's going.
Whether we succeed or fail,
Correct.
They want to see something about it, because internally, I think most of us had that curiosity.
Yes.
Even if it was from remembering roots.
Yes.
Because that's what I remembered Elmina and Cape Coast.
Yes.
And it was kind of embedded in my mind. So you're right.
And I think that the more, you do your work and others like you do their work, and the people who come to, visit through your tours, go back and tell the stories, then it'll change the narrative in regular, everyday conversations and communities.
Understood.
Right? So now when I go back, my circle and my, sphere of influence, we have to think about Africa differently.
Understood.
Because I have a different perspective and I'm going to tell a different story. Yeah. And so I think that is how it will continue to shift as well.
What has been the most impactful moment or moments?
Most impactful. Definitely the dungeons. That's there's a sadness, right? If you allow yourself to feel that, the guides kept saying, imagine, experiencing it. And for me, I wasn't really focused on imagining it. I was focused on how do I make the most of my existence.
Understood.
So that whatever damage was intended, I don't follow through with it.
Understood.
So to me, it was more of a motivation than anything. So that was an impactful moment for me.
And I had a similar experience like that, because I went to Door of No Return. I knew I was not supposed to be at the Door of No Return, because I wasn't supposed to return.
Yes.
And then I became angry because I was like, they play these games. And I said, well, instead of using that anger for something destructive, that's when all of the tours, I said, well, I need to bring people back. So to your point, it was a motivation for you to go back and make the most of your existence.
Yes.
Any places or anything else stuck out to you?
So even within that same narrative or experience, I think the other thing that really stood out to me is, and I've kind of played with it in my mind a few times, I can't think if I said it out loud or not, is I see how much wealth that the British and the Dutch and the French amassed over those, 400 years?
Yeah, 400.
400 years of moving millions of people.
And that was just during that time. They're still benefiting from it.
Correct,
Right.
correct. So, and we know what their motivations were. And so now in the new world, the new society that we live in, is it possible to truly amass that much success, progress, wealth, and multi-generational advancement without exploiting people?
That's a good question. Capitalism. Capitalism is really exploitation at its core. Because if you look at how it's set up, I'm trying to do a triangle. I don't know if you all can see that. And so I'm trying. But if you look at it, there's always going to be the wealthiest ones at the top.
Yeah.
And that's the way of the world. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So
I saw the deep breath come in. Okay, go ahead.
So does it have to, I get the capitalism thing, but do the people at the bottom have to be that disenfranchised
They don't have to
and
be.
exploited?
No.
That
They
is,
don't have to be. No.
so that was, that that question has rang in my head.
So then you start looking at the systems.
Yes.
And the systems are designed on every level of the global capitalistic systems we have. Every level is designed to make sure that those people. So how do we break that? Is because one of the things I say is education is the weapon that we have. But then do people want the education? But do they know? Well, you can't control what somebody's appetite is. But then again, on the flip side, they have created these systems that have brought about these results. What do you think? What's your thought on it?
I don't know. That's why the question has been, it's been a tennis match in my head for 2 days.
Does it have to be?
Does it have to be?
Wherever there's extreme wealth, there's going to be extreme poverty. Extreme wealth.
Yeah.
Now notice the extreme.
Yeah.
Not wealth necessarily, but extreme wealth, and that's what we have, greed. And that's what those dungeons represented for me. I said this was a processing plant.
Yes.
That's what this was designed to do, to process people and make money off of them.
Yes.
But even today, when you have the prison system in America, when you have the educational system that has the capacity to properly educate, but chooses not to. Where you have poverty in America that mirrors poverty in other parts of the world.
Yes.
But those systems choose not to address it. So what do you do with that? I'm aware. So you in the comments below, why don't you tell us what do we do with it? Because we see what's going on, we recognize it, and so with that said, we're gonna let them comment.
Okay.
Because we're asking these questions. Now tell me a little bit about your journey, because you're here in Africa now.
Yes.
But you started telling us a very compelling story about you as a young woman and your journey to this health, wellness, lifestyle space. So walk me through that.
So when I was very young, I had a misfortunate event where I found myself very sick at 19 years old, and my body was going into shock. It was Labor Day weekend. I was freshman year in college.
So you were at the prime of your young adult life.
Prime. I was with my college sweetheart, and we were, visiting family and friends. And I kept going into these episodes. So we were in Georgia, so it's hot. Labor Day it's extremely hot.
I was in Georgia, yes.
But I was shivering. I was cold.
In Georgia.
In Georgia, teeth shattering. Putting on blankets and stuff in the car, and so I was really, really sick, and I didn't necessarily know what was wrong with me. We were near Fort Valley at the time. My college sweetheart played basketball, so he had played at Fort Valley, and then he played at the school we went to, Albany State. So there was a guy he knew that was a chiropractor. He used to treat the team, and he also owned some laundromats and stuff around town. So he takes me there, and luckily the guy was there, and he knew acupressure. And of course, he was a chiropractor, as I mentioned. And he, did some pressure point treatments on me, and he adjusted me. And he said, "I don't know what's wrong with you, but whatever it is, it's extremely serious. And I need you to go to the hospital as soon as you leave here." Well, I didn't do that.
As a 19-year-old might not.
Because I felt a little bit better, so I just wanted to go back to, to home at the time, which was in Albany, Georgia. And because that's where I went to school, and kind of got settled in, and it started up again, worse. So they rushed me to the hospital. When I got there, they immediately shot me up with morphine, and it turns out that I had a bladder and kidney infection that had gotten so bad that my kidneys were shutting down. And so the nurse, once they got me stable, she looked me in the eyes and said, "You're going to be okay, but you will have kidney damage for the rest of your life." My life changed that day.
Yeah.
And so what happened is that they started sending me to urologists. So I would go to urologists, I would say once every other month or so. I was taking antibiotics every other month. And they would put me on just trying different medications to try to get me more comfortable. And when I would go to the urologist, I would be in there with like 70, 80-year-old people.
Oh, yeah.
And they were having conversations with me, asking me, did I feel like I needed to wear the pen?
Oh, it was that serious.
It was that serious at that age.
At 19.
At 19. So that was not okay.
That's not okay. I mean, that's really not okay at any age.
It's
but
not
at
okay.
19 is not the time for it to happen, right?
So I couldn't accept that. So I started looking for solutions.
At 19?
Mm-hmm. At 19. And so from a earlier experience in my life with me having asthma, my mom allowed an elder to help me with some herbs. She gave me some herbs to actually sleep on. She made a pillow. I slept on it. And at the time, as a child, I was on 3 different asthma medications. And so she's like, nah, you don't need that. Just sleep on this pillow every night. I did it for about a year and a half. Gradually, I was coming off the medications. Eventually, I didn't need it at all. From there, I went on to be a very active child and teenager and adult. So I participate in many sports. Many sports.
You danced?
Yeah. Dance, cheerleading, track, basketball. And I danced up until...
And that's after the herbs?
That's after the herbs. Yes. And so, so as a result of that experience, I knew that there may be an alternative solution.
Because you got rid of the asthma.
Got rid of the asthma. And, I had a couple cousins that had, similar asthma episodes, sickness, and they continued to suffer with the asthma and continued to be dependent on the medication, even up until this day.
Did they ever try the herbs?
No, not at all. And I got laughed at for sleeping on that pillow,
Girl, you sleeping on that kind of weed that you smoking. You sleeping on that weed. I know what time it is. You giving that girl weed already.
Yeah. So from that experience, I always knew that there's another way, right? I had another episode when I was younger. I was running track, and I just started to get headaches. Started getting a lot of headaches. And I went to the doctor, and actually my primary doctor was not in that day. And there was a substitute doctor, I don't know.
Substitute doctor.
But he was standing in for the primary, and he asked a very simple question. He said, tell me about your diet. How do you eat every day? How have you eaten for the last 7 days? And he listened.
And what was in the diet?
It was a lot of the standard Southern American diet. So it's breakfast ham in the morning.
All right, with some grits.
With some grits or some
butter?
Pancakes or sausage, a lot of butter. Lowered when you cook different. So it was
People
a lot
get
of
hungry just hearing yourself. Yeah. And the biscuits. The sausage.
Yes. Cheese.
And eggs.
And
you said the ham already.
The breakfast ham.
The country ham?
The country ham.
The salty ham.
With the bone in the middle.
The bone in the middle.
Yes.
Cut a little string of fat around under it.
Yeah. So what he said was, stop eating the pork for a month and see what happens.
Okay. So it went right to the pork. So what did it do?
I stopped eating it. Never had another headache. Enjoyed the rest of my track season with no problem.
I think some people are getting ready to turn off everything.
And I have not eaten it since then.
Really, nothing?
No. So those 2 episodes that young were very, very foundational. So
and that's at 9. No, before.
That was around. I was in middle school, so that was 11. And then the first thing happened. I was maybe 6 or 7. So, so by the time I got to the episode at 19, I was like, you don't know how to help me, but somebody does. I'm gonna go find them, and that's what I did. I tried a lot of stuff. I went into a health food store.
And you just got all the vitamins.
And I was just buying stuff. I had done a bunch of research, and I was just and one of the people that worked at the store, Sevenanda in Atlanta, one of the oldest natural food stores, co-op.
What's the name of it again?
Sevenanda.
Sevenanda.
Yeah, shout out to them.
And what area is it in?
It's in Little Five Points.
Little Five Points.
Downtown.
So
in down
is it
in
straight
Atlanta.
down Peach Street? Is it
It's down Moreland Avenue.
Moreland Avenue. Okay.
So I was in there.
Trying to send people that way.
Yeah. So I was there, and one of the women that worked there, she kind of watched me, and she said, "What are you trying to do?"
Because you just had everything.
Right. It was clear. I didn't know.
Amino acids.
Or a little silver. And she said, "What are you trying to do?" And then I told her what was going on, and she said, "I'm going to give you a lady. I want you to call her. Put all of that back."
Put all of that back.
Clearly, you don't know what you're doing.
Put the omega-3 back right now. Put the black cohosh or whatever.
Yeah.
Even though these are bad. Not that they're bad. It's just that you just had it all going.
It wasn't the right thing for what I needed at the time.
So you called the lady.
Called the lady. And she was a iridologist, a reflexologist, a raw foodist.
Now, what's an iridologist?
Oh.
See?
Ooh.
I'm trying to look out for everybody out there. Iridologist, that's a new one.
Yes. So iridology is it's a science, and it's one of the ways that it's one of the ways that some natural health practitioners can assess how well your body is functioning. And what they do is they look at the iris of your eye.
Oh, I'm familiar with the iridologist. I didn't know the name of the iridologist, but I'm familiar. Yes.
So if people have ever seen a reflexology chart, which is fairly common, where you see the bottom of the feet or the inside of the hands or even the ears, there's a point on each of those that represents different organs or different parts of the body. And they can tell. And they can tell the health of the area by touching it, by stimulating it, by massaging it. Or with the iris of the eye, they can take a picture of it. And the same as with reflexology, every part on your eye of the iris, and even outside of the iris, even the white part, it represents something in your body.
And so they can look at that.
And so they can look at that and tell the magnitude of what's going on, the health of your organs, the health of your different systems, circulation, all of that. And they can tell, like, for example, I broke my ankle once, right? You can see the break, but you can also see where it has healed, and if it has healed well. It say someone had, some major sickness, COVID, right?
All right.
They may be able to see, okay, there was a virus, and if it's still active,
they can see that in the eyeball.
They can see it in the eyeball. Infections, viruses, all of that, tumors, all of that.
Sounds like we all need to go see the iridologist.
I have one that is amazing that I still work with.
But I've heard, because I remember several years ago, it's probably about 14, 15 years, I went to an iridologist. Mm-hmm. Now, this is where we go back to talking about breaking things down, but this iridologist went through trying to share this in the church community. And they were told that it was all witchcraft, and it was the devil. And it was. I'm just talking.
Yeah, it's so sad.
And because the way that I've seen it, because I have a background in the church world, and so if the bishop doesn't say it's okay, everything else is witchcraft and the devil. If the bishop doesn't say it, or the pastor or whoever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've seen some of the most silly episodes of. I'm gonna be nice. I've seen some silly episodes of human intelligence go to to waste. Because someone listened to someone who had they had training in foolishness. Yeah. So so now, how do you speak to someone who's saying, "Oh no, I don't need to get my eyeball looked at because it's the devil"? How do you? Because you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
I know you do.
I get it. Ooh, do I get it? Well, this is what I found is that. Sometimes people can find comfort in just choosing fear, right? People will find things to be afraid of.
Anything.
Ooh,
the wind blowing too much.
Right.
I'm scared.
Right. So if that is your nature, if that is how you think, if that's how you see the world, that is how you're going to
show up
always.
Yes.
in many environments.
Right. Ooh, you going to Africa? Ooh, I'm
Right.
scared.
So if you choose to operate it in that limited way, then that is your choice in this incarnation.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that don't like not feeling good. There are a lot of people that don't like not being able or being restricted and not being able to, for example, traveling. You know, I talk to people all the time that wish they could travel like they used to, but they're afraid because, oh, I'm on this medication, or I have this pain, or, you know, there's some type of restriction that holds them back health-wise.
And there's, the interesting thing is they've all had their hands laid on them, oil thrown on them. And I'm being, just to be very clear, but I'm not trying to throw you in this water. I'll dive into this water. I've seen it all.
Yeah.
I've seen it all. And the people don't get better, and they keep holding on to this stuff, and they keep getting worse, and they keep giving their money, and the family sees them giving their money, and they're getting sicker and sicker by the moment. They're calling people over and they're throwing oil on. They're still getting worse. But then the thing that could help them, they rule it out.
Yes.
But, you know, I just want to throw that out there for somebody.
So how do I manage that?
Yeah.
I used to try to convince people, right? When I first started doing this work, because a lot of times people really don't know what's possible in being able to improve their health. You know, reduce illnesses and challenges, and even in some cases put their body in a place where it can actually heal it or completely recover. A lot of people just, you know, have become way too comfortable with accepting decline for whatever reason that they choose to accept, whether it's age, whether it's, you know, genetics, whether it's environmental, whether it's financial. In a lot of cases, people are way too comfortable with choosing that. And so what I like to focus on is the people that are ready. Whether they understand what, you know, all of the steps are, whether they understand what reflexology is, whether they understand, you know, what a colonic is, whether they understand the impact of herbs, or fully changing their lifestyle or their mindset, or exploring how they can better control their self and direct their energy effectively, whether they understand that or not. If they say, I'm at a place where I know that I need to do something different because I want to thrive in my physical body as long as I'm here, then we can have a conversation. So that's where I like to start.
So you're ready to talk to people who are ready for the change,
who are ready for
versus trying to convince somebody they need to change. Because sometimes when people hurt bad enough, they're willing to try anything.
Yes.
Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they just ride it out.
They ride it out.
Now you went through a very interesting journey with fibroids.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of ladies are dealing with fibroids issues, and so walk me through that.
Oh yes. So after the kidney situation,
You got everything from asthma, kidneys, fibroids.
Yeah, after I got that stabilized, or you know, I want to say I healed it, because after working with her for about 1.5 years, I didn't have any more problems. I didn't need to take any medication. I didn't need to keep going back to the urologist. I didn't, you know, have the urinary frequency that only 60, 70, 80-year-old women had.
And you're not wearing a diaper now?
No, I'm not wearing a diaper.
I just want to put
the
that
whole
out there.
trip, I'm good.
Not one time.
So a couple years later, I did make adjustments while I was working with the iridologist. Okay, and not all iridologists are that hands-on. I want to say that some of them will give you the information you need. They'll tell you the suggestions of what you should do, and from that point, it's on you. Right, but in that case, she was one that had the compassion, the heart, and the skills to help you with the journey.
Okay.
And so a couple years later, I actually lost contact with her, and I went to another iridologist, and she said to me, you have some small fibroids, and they're so small, I'm not worried, and they're not bothering you, so we're not going to bother you. I didn't like that.
But a lot of people go with that though.
A lot of people go with that. I wasn't okay with it, but I also didn't know what to do about it at the time. So it was in the back of my mind. About 2 years later, going for an annual and, telling the doctors some of the challenges that I was having. So for people that don't know, when you don't eat well, and especially for Black women, when you don't eat well and you have hormone imbalances, which fibroids are a result of, then you have very, very heavy bleeding. Some people have more symptoms than that. They have more pain. They have, a lot more PMS. But in my case, it was really bad bleeding. Heavy,
Okay.
lot.
A whole lot going on. Yeah, you might have needed those diapers.
Yeah. And
got me started.
so the impact of that is severe anemia, which impacts.
So then you had to do the iron pills.
Yeah, you got to do iron pills, which the prescribed iron pills, are really hard for the body to break down. It causes constipation. They're not always effective, so because they're synthetic. I went back to a modified version of the standard Southern American diet. And so that's how the fibroids came.
That was like one piece of bacon.
Well, still the fried chicken, in Atlanta hot wings with lemon pepper sprinkles, fries, and some ranch dressing.
Over the varsity. Yeah. Did you ever go to the varsity?
I did, yeah. So,
is Gladys Knight chicken and waffles still
it closed.
Oh, it closed.
It closed, yeah.
I know a little something about it.
Yeah. So all of that kind of stuff will help. Will create fibroids and help them to grow.
I'm afraid to figure out what it does in men, but anyway, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. So 2 years later, the doctors noticed it. So iridologist first. 2 years later, doctor noticed.
After the modified Southern diet.
Yes. And so I said, okay, I got to do something. And the doctor came in and he spoke to me. And he said, I don't want you to worry about it too much. They are small. This is common for women of color. And I just don't want you to put too much focus or energy into it. Don't name it. Don't rub your belly and think about it every day.
That's Betsy right there.
Right.
Okay.
And so, and he was an Indian doctor. Basically, he was saying, don't put any energy into it.
Got it.
But then he told one of his nurses, to come in and talk to me. And it was an older Black woman. And she said, baby, whatever you do not let them start cutting on you. She said, I have had 5 surgeries and the fibroids still keep coming back. And they can't tell me how to stop them from coming back. And they can't tell me what's causing it. So that was her words of wisdom. And I took that to heart. Then I got back on the journey of, okay, let me find a solution. So I ended up connecting with a herbalist in Atlanta who's now like a mentor, a big sister to me, and used her products for a while and listened to her. And 2 years later, they were gone, confirmed via ultrasound and all of that. The fibroids, yes. So they were gone, and I was happy. I went back to the modified.
Another story coming. I feel this is about to go back to the modified.
Yeah, I went back to the modified.
I feel that coming.
Standard American diet. And 2 years later, a very stressful job. I loved it. But
it was stressful.
It was very stressful. International responsibilities. I was trying to operate on 3 and 4 different time zones.
Ooh.
Really didn't have a consistent sleep schedule. Just in that in a very ambitious place. And
you were how old at that point?
29.
That's normally around when the ambitious place goes into overdrive.
Okay. Yes. So I was fully there, and taking care of a sick parent, responsible for.
So now you're a caregiver, and
breadwinner,
and you're driven,
trying to climb, climbing, and
that speaks deficiency
all over.
So many,
And on top of that, I moved from Atlanta to Portland, Oregon. So no family around. So completely disconnected from community.
Emotionally.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So you go back to your modified diet.
Yeah.
What happens next?
And so at that time, I want to add, I ate better than the average person, right? So my diet was probably about 85, 90% plant-based. I was juicing every day. Wasn't quite juicing the right stuff, but I was juicing every day.
You were juicing something.
Juicing, fruits, vegetables, and, I didn't eat pork. I didn't eat beef.
Okay.
I ate very little chicken, mostly fish. And so that's, when I did eat flesh, that's what I ate. Fibroids still came back. And the anemia got so bad that I was getting iron infusions every 3 months. And so
iron infusion sounds like an injection.
That is an IV that you have to sit there and they give you a solution that looks like Pepsi to give you iron so that you can function.
So you knew something was wrong.
By the time I got to the third infusion,
you knew.
I knew. They had to give me 4 in total. And I allowed them to give me 4 in total. And when I got to the 4th one, I said, because when I was getting those infusions, I was in the room with people that were getting chemo. So here I am, 29, 30. So I was in the room with people that were getting chemo. And on the 3rd treatment for the iron infusion, I asked the doctor, is this normal? is this normal? And what she said was that normally 1 iron infusion can last for multiple years.
Multiple years.
And I said, so you don't know how to help me. And she said, we're doing what we can to keep you stable. So I realized that I needed to leave.
Keep you stable.
Yeah. Because what happens is when your iron gets that low, it affects brain function.
Everything.
Yeah, it affects everything. And so at that point, I felt like I was just doing what it took to just keep working like a fool. And I realized I needed to take some time to find out how to fix this and then to heal myself. Because I feel like if I had allowed that to continue, they would have been fine making that just a part of my life.
Yeah, because they're making money off of it.
Yeah. And I had really great insurance.
So they were going to pay off for it?
Yeah. One of the, top tech companies in the world.
So they made sure your insurance was good.
Yeah.
So tell me how you transitioned to become lifestyle health and wellness coach.
Yes. So as a result of that experience, so even from the event with the kidney situation, at that point, working with that iridologist, herbalist, reflexologist, so one of the things she did was everything she recommended that I do, she made me research it so that I can understand for myself why I'm doing it and understand the benefits and experience the benefits, right? Nothing convinces people like an experience.
No, nothing at all.
So from there, just learning about wellness and transforming the body physically just became a passion. And so I would take, workshops and classes, and read a lot of books. So that started then. And so once we got to the whole iron infusion fiasco, I knew something needed to change. And I went to Hippocrates Health Institute, which is like the Harvard of alternative healing. People come from all over the world to that campus to study and also to heal.
But again, I know some of my audience. When you say anything alternative, unless Dr. Wade says it's okay, or Dr. Barry says it's okay, and if the medication, they don't give you that medication. I got to get my medication now. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good point.
Alternative, Dr. Wade didn't say it was okay.
Yeah. So Dr. Wade has done a great job of introducing the conversation.
Okay.
And
Dr. Wade used to be like the family doctor for all of my aunts and great grandmother and grandmother. Yeah. That's how I know that name.
So he's done a good job of introducing the conversation, right? But I think I'm thinking of Wells. There's a Dr. Wells.
Okay.
Yeah. So as far as the other doctors, what I'll say is that we have gotten very disconnected from the power of food. Period. Right? The power of food.
Not just to fill you up when you're hungry.
Not just to fill you up, not just for it to smell good and taste good, but to give your body the nutrients, minerals, antioxidants, vitamins, essential fatty acids that you need to thrive all the way down to the cellular level. That's why we're eating. To continue to recreate life within ourselves.
But does that go back to what happened?
Oh.
You see how I brought that around? You see?
Yeah.
So what happened when we left
Yes.
here?
Yes.
Because the intention was not for us to be healthy.
No. It was just to stay alive.
And just like they do with the cattle now.
Stay alive
they
and
just
keep
give
working.
Them, and fatten them up and just enough to keep.
Soy and corn.
You saw how. So, but it's not a part of our culture to understand food from a cellular level. It's
not.
work like a slave.
Right.
Eat because you're hungry.
And be happy.
And be happy.
Be happy. So we whatever you have, make it work so that you can be happy in the moment.
Yes.
So that you can just have enough energy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, to keep working through whatever the conditions are. Yeah.
See, that's a mindset. That's a cultural issue.
Yes.
That's a mindset issue.
Yes.
And some people need to see that breakdown because think about it. When there's a parent right now works all day, pick the children up from wherever. They're too tired to cook.
Yes.
They run through wherever. Let me get you something to eat, so you're
Full.
And these habits start, and by the time they become teenagers.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess I'm pushing to the point. That's our culture. That's what we know. So how do you now retrain people?
Retrain people. Yeah.
Those who want to be.
Exactly.
Not those who don't, you can't do it. But those who want to be, how do you do that?
Yeah. So, so to finish the story, I went to Hippocrates Health Institute, Harvard of Alternative Healing. They have the food, they have the herbs, and then they have the technology. So all of that.
They have everything.
They have everything, and they do blood work, and they have doctors and nurses there as well. Right, and but all with that very progressive focus to get a person to their best. And I just learned a lot. It took what I knew from the previous experiences of having to rebalance my body to a whole nother level. 6 months later, fibroids are gone.
Fibroids are gone.
Gone. Yeah. Confirmed via ultrasound.
And they haven't returned.
They have not returned. Yes. And the thing that I learned the second time is that there is always a spiritual, mental, and metaphysical component anytime there's a major illness or sickness in the body. So there was some habits, some patterns, some mindset changes that I had to make. I had to let go of some people too, so that I can be in a better position to be more balanced, healthy, and whole.
Now, to that point, you had to let go of some people.
Yes.
Was that easy?
No. Yeah.
Why wasn't it easy?
Because you get used to the patterns and the habits. Overgiving, toxic behavior, and it being normal. We normalize that.
I mean, I asked that question because that's a part of health.
It is a part
that
of
a lot
health.
of people are tolerating.
Yes.
Because they feel either they've been manipulated into it or they've been trained.
Yes.
That they're supposed to tolerate.
Or that's just a part of how things are and how life is. It goes. Yeah. So I had to make some changes, and so that is when I had to do a complete lifestyle shift.
So you had to change your diet and you had to change your relationships.
Diet.
Because there was toxicity on all of those levels.
Yes, diet, relationships, and daily habits, daily routine.
What are some daily routines you had to change?
Oh, wow. I would have to say the way that I think about food, right? So now, we had a good time on this trip.
Yeah.
We did. I ate some things I wouldn't normally eat.
I watched.
Yes.
I'm sure we all did.
But as a standard for me, in any environment that I'm in, I am trying to make the best decision.
And you did that. You were very conscious.
Yes.
Because you broke out with the different things, and I was like, wow.
Yes.
I said, I need to interview her. And we're not just going to talk about Africa on this one, but I said, she was serious about that. And you were like, can I get this and can I get that? And you actually, I was like,
yes. How can I make the best decision for myself in this moment? When I'm eating, when I'm hiking, when I'm having conversations, no problem.
Yeah, there was no.
No.
You didn't get up there. You were like, I'm here. What's next?
Yeah. And so that's a lifestyle. That's there's certain conversations. I will offer my love
and keep it moving,
and I will exit.
I'm just I keep because somebody needs to hear this because somebody's missing out on life.
Yes.
Because they're entertaining all this toxicity.
Yes.
And I had to go through something similar, just like that's it. I can't have those types of mentalities and mindsets and people in that space, so I need to do something different. So when you said it, I was like,
yes, it's a mismanagement of energy. And we only have so much. So we would do best if we focus it on what will make us feel the way that we want to feel.
But now, somebody gonna say, pastor gonna say that you don't need to, you need to give all your life to everybody else because, lay down your life for your brother now. If you take care of yourself, you wrong if you do that. Now you're being selfish and fleshly in other world. And if you do that, that's we gonna have to deal with you now.
So I teach Self-Fullness.
Okay.
Because I can be of much better service if I am well, if I am balanced, if I am calm, if I am well taken care of, if I am stable.
If you put your oxygen mask on
If I put my oxygen mask on first, I'm much more valuable to the people around me.
Yeah, but now, you know what they done told you now. You can't. You got to put everybody else before you, and you got to be overly sacrificial, and you got to make sure everybody taken care of.
And I would say that is manipulation, and that is, one of my mentors says, anytime you choose to dishonor yourself or sacrifice yourself to your detriment, you are committing high treason against yourself.
But that's our culture.
And it's not working. So we have to ask, what result do we want? Do we want, like the grandmama in Soul Food, who, was as loving as she can be.
And everybody's always loving now.
Loving. Yeah, but you don't get your body don't give you a pass on heart disease because you were loving.
You love people, right?
No. When they're taking legs and limbs, it's not only
some of the most loving people
will have not taken care of themselves.
Yes.
And you don't get a hero cookie.
Yeah.
They may talk about it at your funeral.
Yes.
Oh, she just, sacrificed into the grave.
All of us, and then they fight over what you left.
But then my perspective on that is I do believe that, when the Creator chose to give you this incarnation, it was a gift.
Yes.
And so are you disrespecting the Creator by not taking care of the temple, the gift, the vessel that you have been given? Or do you want to listen to the pastor and be self-sacrificial and allow yourself to be used up until you're empty, broke, busted, disgusted, and almost?
And somebody has to make that decision. But I think a lot of people are waking up to it. I think as people are waking up to Africa, they're also waking up to the games that have been played. They're waking up to the broader manipulations that have occurred through the various systems that have been imposed upon us.
Yes.
and this is not a blanket statement, you know, it's not everybody, but
Yes.
however, when I look at it from a cultural perspective, I can see certain things. So you recognize all of this toxicity, the food, the people. So how do you help people now?
Oh, wow. So now I help people in a couple ways. The primary way that I help people right now is through my health and wellness coaching and consulting. So in that, what I do is I give them the tools, the guidance, the support to make the nutrition, the mindset, and the lifestyle changes that they need to make in order to improve their health.
So someone can reach out to you and you will coach them.
Yes. Yes.
And as you coach them through it,
Yes.
then that's when
The shifts happen.
Right.
Shifts, changes, in every area of their life. You know, I've had people to, you know, they not only improve their health, but they improve their finances.
because of
They can
different
think
things.
clearer. They're making better decisions. They're managing their energy better, right? They feel better, so they got more energy to make
To
more
do
money,
other things.
To do other things. People improving their relationship.
Because-
Yes.
With that, what have been some of the challenges? Some of the challenges as it pertains to when people come to you.
Yeah.
They're excited, you know.
Not all the time.
Not all the time.
It's rare that people call me happy.
So they're at their wits' end.
Sometimes they're just curious. Excited, I get that probably 2 weeks in, a month in, or
I'm doing better.
longer.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm doing better
That's
now.
when the excitement
I'm
happens.
not feeling it.
Yeah. But it's normally a very serious tone when people call me.
What are some other challenges, I guess?
Oh, wow. So I think the other thing that I have to say is that a lot of people, especially in America, are operating in a state where they're chronically unfulfilled. And that impacts every area of their life. Emotional, relationships, and a lot of times that ends up being the primary battery behind the reckless behavior, whether it's through food addiction or overeating or choosing to eat the wrong things or choosing to do the wrong things or choosing not to do the right things.
Right.
That chronically unfulfilled and just needing relief.
So constantly needing relief, that's where the drugs come in. That's whether it be
Chocolate.
No, that's the sugar drugs. I was about to go to the sugar drugs.
Yeah. So that's something that definitely has to be addressed. A lot of people haven't really sat down in a long time to think about who am I, what do I want, and what would make me happy. And am I willing to allow myself
to be happy.
to be happy?
But again, in our culture, being happy is like a sin. We have been, hundreds of years of you shouldn't be happy.
Or what does happiness really mean? Does happiness mean the car, the big house,
Right.
or what does it mean?
What does
Right.
it mean? Even how we define it.
And even asking the question, and this is a simple question I ask a lot, how do you want to feel? Everything we do is motivated by feeling, whether that's prosperous, successful, happy, good, loved. That's a motivation. And so we're constantly chasing that feeling. So
Right.
in one way or another, if it's ambition, it's that feeling of I reached that point of success. I reached that high. It only lasts for so long, and
Right.
you might
Only
be able
that
to
long.
brag on it for years to come, but just getting to that point.
That euphoria, that
Yeah,
feeling,
yes.
the adrenaline
Right.
rush that comes with it.
So one of the things that I tell people is if that's something that you value, how can you get that in healthier ways and more consistently? So if you like the feeling of accomplishment, then can you hike? Right? Can you weave? Can you sew? Right? Can you put together events? Whatever the thing is that gives you that fulfillment. Once I had a lady who her thing was she liked to explore. So she originally described it as I like to travel. So, she came to me, had her issues, but that was the highlight of her life when she traveled. And I said, so what you really like to do is explore. And you can do that where you live.
So you got the
So you
core.
don't, correct. So you don't have the core essence. That's what I call it, the core essence. So do you need to self-sacrifice, push and work? Because she's only traveling once or twice a year.
So that's not a lot of fulfillment.
There's not a lot of fulfillment. In between, you're in this, place of working towards a feeling that you want to have that you only get twice a year. How can we get that feeling every week, every 2 weeks, once a month? And then
to keep chip away at it. So
to chip away at it.
So you're not waiting for this big release. You're managing it.
Yes, and you're living.
Yeah. Live.
You're living.
Live. That's what you see us doing over here. Living.
Yeah, and you're living. And in addition to you living, then you don't need so many vices to get you through.
Right.
Because these vices are what are putting you in the state of that's causing you pain.
Yes.
And in her case, bleeding and over bleeding and nutritional deficiency, and so that was the deal. So it's layers to it.
There's layers to it.
But yeah. So each individual, when I do work with people one-on-one, I try to look at the whole person. Not only what they're eating, but how does their life work and flow for them, right? From the time they wake up until the time they go to bed. And we look for opportunities for them to make minor tweaks gradually to get them to a better place and expose them to more of what's possible. Because I talk to people all the time and they say, I want to eat healthier. I want to have a healthier lifestyle, but they don't necessarily know the how.
Because it's not in our culture.
It's not in our culture.
Let me say, it is, but it's not promoted.
Correct.
In our culture.
Correct.
And we need more people like you.
Yes.
Who are advocates.
Yes.
And making sure that this information is getting out there.
And making sure that people understand that it can work in any environment. That's another thing. I tell people, they say, I'll be at my mom's house for Christmas.
And all they have is the sweet potato pie.
Yeah.
I'm a sweet potato pie addict.
Okay.
That time of year.
That's the
only time I eat sweet potato. From Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Through Christmas.
Yes.
I might eat. I'm almost embarrassed to say.
Yeah.
I might eat 20 sweet potato pies.
So how we shift that, right?
Right.
Number one, it could be, what else are you doing while you're there, right? What else is going on? Are you doing the hog that was cooked in the
No, it's just the sweet
cooked
potato
in the
pie.
ditch,
I will only I look for the sweet potato pie.
Yeah. But then, is there a way to have a sweet potato pie that tastes just as good with better ingredients that are more healthier, that are better for your body?
There we go. We're creating an alternative.
And so the answer to that is yes.
All right.
Because I've had some amazing sweet potato pies.
See, I'm gonna end up becoming her client. She walking me down the sweet potato pie road.
And so exposure is a big deal, right?
But having these conversations are so important.
Yes.
Because again, our culture, from what we see here in Africa, then what we see in America, is so inundated with self-destructive habits, practices, beliefs, tendencies, so many things that need to be untangled. But again, to your point, those who are ready and who want to do it, they will do it. And all right, so I know people are wondering, how can they find you? Because they're like, ooh, they're sharing it with somebody. Ooh, so Nishishiki's on there talking. So how can they find you? And tell me some of the services that you offer.
Okay, so I offer the health and wellness coaching and consulting. So that's the primary service. And I also have products. So the products are relaunching, as I think I told you that a few days ago. So products are relaunching, and there are wellness shakes. I have my own plant-based protein powder that I make. No fillers, all clean ingredients, and it's 23 grams per serving of plant-based protein. And it tastes pretty good. It tastes pretty good.
I'm about to become I'm telling you, I'm about to order the products and everything. I'm sitting here like, wow, 23 grams of plant-based
protein, clean protein,
Yeah.
easy for your body to actually absorb and process and use.
Right.
Yes. And then there's a line of wellness teas and their supplements as well. So that's the other way.
So you have the coaching and then you have the products.
And coaching and the products, yes.
How can they find you?
They can find me at thrivenowwellness.com. That's the website.
thrivenowwellness.com.
Yes. And also for people who just like, I just need to talk to her right now, thrivenowsession.com will put you on my calendar directly.
thrivenowsession.com, and we'll make sure all of the information is in the description so that you can find Nashiki and make sure that you reach out to her, because as you can tell, this conversation is needed in our community.
Yes.
And regardless of whatever community, and this is not just for Black folks.
Yes.
This is for anyone who needs to have this conversation. And I believe that her coming to Africa, because I guess now you've made some connections.
I have made some connections. I bought some amazing herbs.
Yeah.
So there are certain herbs that only grow here in Africa, and me getting them in the States is always, hit or miss. So when I saw them in the grocery store, here, I just thought I went crazy. So
in the grocery store.
Yes, in the grocery store. So I got some herbs, but I also made some connections to a local herbalist here, that has 100 acres of land. So he grows. He also helps people as well, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to work together.
That's right. The resources are here.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that you came.
Yes.
I'm glad that you joined us on this trip. I'm glad that you shared your story, because now, as more and more people watch this, because I tell people every time we do an interview, the interview lasts. So it'll run when it runs, but then it's constantly running.
Yes.
And this conversation will continue for however long
Yes.
the video is out there.
Yes.
And somebody else will be inspired to share.
Yes.
Somebody else will be inspired to reach out to you and learn what they can do, that someone with fibroids or someone who has, whatever
Yes.
condition
Yes.
it is, they will reach out to you and they'll say, what can you do to point me in the right direction?
Yes.
And that's the wonderful part about this. So it started off as a tour to Africa,
Yes.
but it really, the thousands of people that are going to be reached by way of this video,
Yes.
now it's gone beyond the tour.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful part about this. So, all right, listen, I want you to reach out to Nashiki Chandler. She is I'm telling you, when you really get a chance to sit down and talk to her, a wealth of knowledge, and very adamant and very serious about what she's doing. And I'm going to buy some of the products. That's the bottom line, because I need to find out about that sweet potato pie situation. But be sure to reach out to her. Give the website again.
thrivenowwellness.com.
That's the deal. thrivenowwellness.com. And make sure, if you're looking to travel anywhere to the continent of Africa, reach out to us at Maximum Impact Travel. But it's much more than that. We are bridging the gap. We're changing the narratives. We're chipping down the walls of misinformation on so many different levels. And we want you to be a part. So until next time, take care.